Hey everybody, this is Ian Riccaboni, the voice of Ring of Honor Wrestling. Say with Conrad, they were very appreciative of my time and they really worked with my schedule. The Conrad's team met me at the hours that I needed to meet them to walk through the specifics. The paperwork was clear, the communication was clear to make the decision super easy to work with. So we actually went from a 30-year mortgage, we refinanced down to a 15-year mortgage, and now our house is going to be paid by the time the kids go to college. If you want to save like I did and like Nick Aldis did and so many others in the professional wrestling world, please go to savewithconrad.com.
NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
It's savewithconrad.com.
Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, 16 times your world champion. As you know, the host of Woo Nation, and along with my co-host, the infamous Conrad Thompson, the millionaire with nothing but time. And today we have the most special guest we've ever had on the show. Actually, the man responsible for getting me this podcast with CBS. The legendary, the one and only Stone Cold Steve Austin. Steve, how are you?
Man, I'm doing good. I had a good time last night. It's funny because as we talk, we're here in New York City in the world's smallest hotel room. God dang, Conrad walked in. I thought we was going to need a crowbar and a shoehorn to get him in the room. I ain't saying that to knock Conrad. I'm saying that to knock how small these hotel rooms was. And the funny thing is, I walked into the bar last night just looking to get a little bit of Mexican food. And it's funny because it's an Irish-Mexican food combination. So it's a weird combination. I said, damn, that's Ric Flair sitting at the damn bar. But I don't want to bother you because you was deep in conversation with Conrad. And then he knows me, and he brought our attention together. Of course, there we are sitting there drinking beer. So here we are doing a podcast.
Well,
so
beer and a little tequila.
Hey, no, check
and a
it
little
out.
Crown Royal for him.
But we didn't go crazy. Now, Conrad did.
Yeah.
I thought Conrad was going to wear his damn arm out, flagging that bartender back and forth.
Yeah.
Did you see the bartender's shoes?
Yeah.
He had full traction at the end. By the time, it looked like his cleats had melted off.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
And that wasn't Diet Coke either.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show. I've been wanting to pay you back because you're on my show way back in the day, and then you did me. I call that one segment a 15-minute Broadway. We went 45 minutes, so I owe you the return favor. I'm glad to be your guest, and you're my favorite wrestler of all time. So I'll leave it over to you.
Well, thank you. You know, it's the irony of this is what you just brought to my attention. Our first show was at SummerSlam 2 years ago. Our first meeting up in the hotel room after my infamous day and my infamous appearance at 2K where you're going tonight. It's funny I haven't been invited back by 2K yet either. So.
But that was like in Roswell. I mean, still no one really knows what happened that night. But jobs were lost, tears were shed, and beers were drunk.
And people were sent places. Where we won't tell, but
That's hilarious.
Yeah, a lot went down in a very short period of time.
And for the record, the can popping was Diet Coke this time. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a little different 2 years later.
Well, yeah, but you know it's funny because when I went up to Steve's room, I said, "Steve, I'm in enough trouble now. Let's just get a case of beer." What the hell? And he said, "You're right. Who cares? I don't think I can dig you out of this. Rick will have some fun talking about it, though." Jesus. And it's funny, Steve was laughing his ass off. I mean, everybody was enjoying it, and I was.
It was great.
No, it was great until I brought up the fact that John Cena was drinking. That's the part that rubbed him wrong. And probably mentioned that Daniel Bryan had never been to a WrestleMania. So why could you ask him the question?
Well,
I don't know.
I think at the end of the day, it was good for 2K, and everybody there enjoyed it. I mean, maybe they enjoyed it because it was a train wreck, but nonetheless, it's a night I'll never forget.
Yeah. No, the 2K
talking.
people loved it. They said, that was so exciting. It was so boring. And I said, well, that's what I'm here for, guys. But anyway, 2K hasn't invited me back. Thank God I'm in the game. Steve can speak for me tonight because I'm in the game.
So 2K invited you here?
Huh?
So 2K invited you here? Are you going to be there tonight at the same function?
No. I said I'm on the game. They have not invited me back to participate in the panel. Even though they might like me, the WWE would probably go on maybe another time. Rick signing somewhere.
We're not going to have Woo Nation back on the 2K16 panel.
Yeah. There we go. So anyway, Steve, we were talking about last night. You know, there is so much that goes into your career. And, I mean, I go back, and I was thinking last night about talking about you and Steamboat and how great the matches were, and how in Iowa one night Hogan and I had to go on after he and Steamboat went on. And but then I go back to another incident that was great too. We were in Norfolk, Virginia. It was me and Arn Anderson against you and who?
God dang, and you see, here's the thing, Rick. You remember more about my
Brian.
career
That was Brian Pillman,
Oh, Brian.
right?
Okay.
We tore it down, man.
Yeah.
And Arn and I didn't tag that much because he was basically Tully, but Tully had gone. And they put us on in Norfolk for about 30 minutes, man, and we tore the joint down.
I used to love that building in Norfolk.
Oh.
That was a good neck of the woods for pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And good times. And, man, I miss Brian to this day.
Oh, Jesus.
And because I never did really like tag – well, I love to watch tag team wrestling because it can be so exciting when you have teams like, Arn and Tully, Arn and Ole, the Midnights, the Rock and Rolls.
Yeah.
And then, we got together as Hollywood Blondes and we established this chemistry. That's when I really fell in love with it.
Yeah.
But then, you always have the liability of relying on your partner to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And so I got smoked. I tore my arm up. And anyway, they split us up. But I got a lot of fond memories of Brian. But, man, Norfolk, those were back. That was back when, that old school wrestling it was bad. And, the buildings were about a half to three-quarters full. It wasn't like the territory was on fire. But it was one of the funnest times of my life because you were still running roughshod.
Yeah.
Arn was still in the ring. All the guys that I looked up to, and I was sharing the same life.
Well, you guys crashed a Flair for the Gold. And the deal, and it worked out great. The thing was, sometimes, and it's only I'm not even going to mention your names, but sometimes when something gets over so good, they just pull the cart from it. And that thing got over great when you and Brian came out, and we had one match, and then nobody got hurt that night. They didn't get hurt that night, but they just took the program away.
Yeah, it was what it was. But, I went on down the road and everything happened. It turned out okay.
No, it worked out great.
But, I was mad as a hornet because, first of all, when they were going to put us into it, right there in Dothan, Alabama, I was about to go on a singles run with Harley Race as my manager as a U.S. champion. All of a sudden, the rug got pulled out from under me, and then they put me and Brian together. We got that over, and then they yanked that out from under me. So I was like, man, I don't know the crap or wind my watch, WCW. But, again, it was what it was, and, I'm happy everything ended up like it did.
Yeah, you went down the road, and it's kind of like, I think about this too. Hunter came to me and he goes, when Hunter was like 93, and you'd already taken off.
Yeah.
And Hunter goes, they offered him like $250,000 because he was Regal's partner, the Blue Bloods, whatever they were, and Vince called him, and I go, hey, it's $250,000. He said, it doesn't matter, which caused one of the biggest fights I've ever had with Randy Savage, all in the same story. He said, I'm gone. And, of course, the rest was history with Hunter.
Right.
Came up to join you, and, everything just started falling together for them again, thank God. But Savage it came in that day, and Savage wanted to beat Hunter in like 30 seconds. I said, that ain't going to happen.
Beat him where? Not in WCW?
He wanted to beat him in center stage.
Oh, really?
In 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
On the way out. And I said, that ain't going to happen. Savage and I had the worst argument of all time. Not that I had anything, but I did. When you like someone's talent, you just don't squash a guy going out the door.
Right.
And I don't think I don't think you do that to a guy. It's kind of like, and I'll throw another story into it. When I did the favor for Kurt Hennig to go back to WCW, Ole says to me, "What are you worth to me now?" He just did a loser leave town last night on national TV. I said, "Ole, I'm going to show you what I'm worth to you." And I went next door to Bob Dew, and I said, "It's me or him." See, Ole. True story.
Wow.
No, I did. Just because Kenny didn't beat me in 5 seconds. He beat me in a 20-minute match.
It was a great match.
Yeah, it went real well. And we did a thing the week before with Santana. Vince doesn't do stuff like that, right? And so that's when me and Ole really fell apart. And he said, "You're not worth anything to me now."
Jesus, doing a favor for someone like Kurt Hennig doesn't hurt anybody.
No.
Well, especially with WCW on closing the doors.
Yeah.
They couldn't get anything going. You know what I mean? And then, so anyway, Hunter left, and I had Savage wrestle Arn for 20 minutes. So when it aired, he called me, and he goes, Savage goes, "That looked like shit. I blew up." I said, "Buy a Stairmaster," and hung up on him. True story.
So you and Hunter were friendly even back in the WCW days when he was.
That's how he got in the business through me.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
He worked at a Gold's Gym in Westchester, he's from Massachusetts. What the main city?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, Westchester, New Hampshire, right? Gold's Gym, and he came down to a Gold's Gym seminar, and that's when I had the 11 clubs in North Carolina and South Carolina, and that one I've had in the Caribbean for a while before the hurricane. And he was working the Gold Junior, and he came down to an ACS seminar, which was American Club Systems. It's a management company. And, of course, I came out of the bar entertaining as myself, right, with a balloon or something like that. And
Yeah, of course.
Hunter handed me a tape. I took the tape back, and he was in Atlanta 2 weeks later.
That's cool.
And then the great story, when he walked in the door, and Steve, you'd already gone by then, and he walked in the door, and Harley was sitting there. Harley was managing Vader. And it's a great, Harley race, and you love him like I do, Steve. So I go, Harley, this is Paul Levesque is going to be Triple H, and Harley goes, "Who trained you, kid?" And this is in Hunter's voice, but I always love doing this.
Yeah.
Killer Kowalski. He's the shits. True story.
Did Harley have heat with Kowalski?
He didn't want, Harley wasn't afraid to say what he thought. Kowalski wouldn't work. He knew that.
Right.
He looked like $1 million, and when he didn't became a vegetarian, he didn't even look good. Jeez, he used to have the greatest look in the world, but what got him over was jumping off the top rope and taking off Yukon Eric's ear.
Right.
Yeah, and
So dude, that was a shoot, though, Yukon Eric's ear, but basically it was just so cauliflowered and calcified it knocked it
it was
off.
an accident, of course.
Right.
Yeah. Not that those guys were stiff back then. I just saw, I came in at the tail end of guys like Hans Schmidt and all of that. I saw them. I never had to work with them, but some of those guys were just brutal, man. And I just saw that at the end of it. Basically, it's like I tell the story when I was in the locker room. My first show in Minneapolis, 1972, and Mad Dog Vachon is the AWA champion, right? And if you didn't know Mad Dog, you of course have met him over the years, of course, right? Yeah, and only one voice like that in the world. And I guess Gagne came in and said, "You're going to do the favor tonight." And we could hear, "Not tonight, Gagne. Not tonight, and not until I say so." Okay.
What do you say to that?
Why you didn't? To Mad Dog Vachon, he didn't say much at all. Not only was he tougher than hell, he was a real good amateur wrestler. He was on the '48 Olympic team, same team that Vern was on. He represented Canada, and Vern was an alternate for the United States. He was a good amateur wrestler.
That's cool.
But tougher than hell, too. I mean, Mad Dog stories are legendary. But
Right.
Anyway, going back to Steve. So Steve moved on, and then you got up there, and you went to ECW, correct, first for a while, right?
Yeah, arm was busted, and Eric Bischoff fired me on the phone, and so Paulie called me and said, "Hey, man, come up here and cut some promos." And I was like, "Man, it sounds good to me," because, at the time, man, I had a wife and a kid, and a house payment to make just like everybody else, so I went up there and started cutting promos. And, with Paulie, at first kind of opened my eyes up to learning how to do that. And if there was anything that I was missing, mechanically, I was proficient in the ring. I could have a match with anybody.
Oh, yeah.
About 5-6 years in. I certainly wasn't a superstar by any stretch of the imagination, but the mechanics I had down. The psychology, obviously, man, I think that 10-year mark is really the magic mark for going back and forth, hill and baby, to really have everything down at a very, knowledge that's has a lot of depth to it. So anyway, go up there and cut promos with Paul Lee, and he helped a brother out. And then, by that time, Vince called me and went up there as a ringmaster. And, of course, that gimmick was a drizzling shits, but at least it got me in the door.
Yeah. Well, tell me, I know how the Stone Cold thing came about. So the ringmaster, was that Vince's idea or yours?
No.
No. I mean, I didn't know where you pitched
something.
something.
Myself with this computer cord.
No, I didn't know who pitched it. He just gave that to you.
Hey, no, my phone rang. This is a shoot. Back in the day, you used to have, telephones that hang on the wall with a long cord.
Yeah.
And first it come with a little 5-foot cord. But if you had a little dough, you'd go down to Radio Shack and get you the 20-foot cord so you could actually do something, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, my phone rings. I answer it. It's fucking Vince.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Steve, Vince McMahon, how you doing, pal?" I said, "I'm doing good, Vince."
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, I want to run something by you. I want to bring you in as the ringmaster. The master of the ring." And I'm sitting there thinking, what the fuck? The master of the ring? The ringmaster? It sounds like shit. But I got bills to pay. So I said, yeah, sounds like a good idea. What time you want me to start? So I come on in. But, originally, I guess this gimmick had been around. Their creative staff had, I guess, stockpiled a couple of gimmicks. Yeah. And, of course, they didn't see nothing in me. I kind of had thinning blonde hair, and I had a decent physique. I wasn't a bodybuilder. I kind of wrestling physique like you.
Exactly.
A guy that looked pretty good, but we're not going to blow the doors off anybody when you walk down the beach. But I could go a little bit, And so he just kind of had this gimmick for me. It's pretty much a throwaway gimmick, I think. And I said, well, what do you want me to do for an outfit? And they wanted to put some those dark green trunks on me, like because they were the color
See,
of money.
I never saw you as the ringmaster.
Oh yeah, so
I never saw it. That's
was
why.
brief. And because it was color money, and they said, we're going to bring in Ted DiBiase is going to be your manager. You'll come in as a $1 million champion, so you'll come in as a champion. So you're going to put DiBiase as my mouthpiece because I knew I couldn't talk. Well, they hadn't seen the ECW stuff yet. And I said, what about boots? Because I still had those white Hollywood Blondes boots with the star on them. He goes, oh, don't worry about the boots, I'll be fine. I said, well, what about a jacket or anything like that? Don't worry about a jacket. So when they tell you don't worry about boots, don't worry about a jacket, they just want to stick some green trunks on you, I know that they really ain't thinking I'm going to get over for shit. So nonetheless, I went up there and it sucked ass. And 6 months later, I come up with a different gimmick, and then that's how we shifted into the Stone Cold thing. But that gimmick was originally pitched to me. It was from their creative. And, that was my foot in the door. And everybody knew it back in the day. Now, don't get me wrong. When you were in running roughshod in NWA, that was the place to be. But as things, transitioned, everybody knew that the WWF was the big leagues.
Right.
And that's where you aspired to go. I'd had my run in the NWA, well, it's WCW.
Yeah.
Things didn't work out. I had to go to the big leagues. It was a bad spot on the roster, but nonetheless a spot on the roster.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that with WCW, it was never the NWA. It just
no, it wasn't.
The whole thing
different.
just
The
fell
prestige
apart.
wasn't there.
No.
The whole atmosphere, everything changed.
Yeah, I mean, and Steve, North Texas State. Yeah, I've done all my stuff. He's a guy. He likes the Cowboys. He likes everybody down there. But in Dallas, right? And I didn't meet him until WCW, but you wrestled in Dallas for a while, right? Before you came into Atlanta.
Yeah.
And, he grew up in that whole, if you're from Texas, that whole Von Erich tradition and the Lothario and Wahoo,
Man, those guys were big-time stars in Texas.
Huge,
man.
big-time.
And a lot of people don't understand how hot those Von Erichs were. And don't get me wrong, I saw you wrestle David. I saw you wrestle Kerry. I saw you wrestle all those guys. And you know how over they were.
Oh.
And David was a pretty good worker.
Yeah.
And Kerry, God rest his soul, was a decent worker, but very, people just love that guy. But they were, they were as big as anybody that was in the business in Texas.
Exactly. And Keith Mitchell was the guy behind it to put together. And then first of all, Michael Hayes comes in. Michael Hayes says, let's give these guys some music.
Right.
Kamala came to New York with music from Dallas. That music didn't come from New York.
Yeah.
Hayes threw that together with Keith Mitchell. Then they made that video, as you know, Steve, of Kerry riding that goddamn horse, that Palomino on the beach to the theme, the Rocky theme, in the loincloth and the hair and all.
They also had that training video of him running that White Snake. Here I go again, running down the beach in the gym, pumping iron. I had those guys built up. Hey, man, you brought up Michael P.S. Hayes. I know this is your podcast, but WrestleMania 32 is going to be in Dallas, Texas this year.
He's got to get
If the Fabulous Freebirds, Michael Hayes, don't go into the WWE Hall of Fame this year, I will be flabbergasted, bamboozled, and confused because those guys deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm asking you, as a Hall of Famer yourself, do the Freebirds belong in the Hall of Fame or not?
Well, here's how strongly I feel about it, okay? Number one, 2011, the year that they inducted Sean, right? Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
Arn Anderson should have gone in as a single.
Right.
Okay? That's my feeling. And the Freebirds should have gone in there. They were huge in Atlanta.
Because Bad Street, Atlanta, GA kind of built themselves from there.
Are you kidding? They were huge on the Super Channel.
Worth talking about, though, with this year, do you think the Rebel flag thing is going to hurt their chances?
Oh, nah. Piss on the Rebel flag. That ain't going to hurt their chances of getting into the Hall of Fame.
It's long overdue. He's got to go in.
No, I agree it's overdue. I just wonder, how do they show the video?
No. You ain't got to put that in any of the video footage, all that stuff. And I can understand the stuff behind the flag, but this was back in the day.
Right.
And I'll tell you what. Back in about 1987, when I was in North Texas State, I used to pay my hard-earned money to go to go to the sports tournament in Dallas, Texas. Yeah. And, man, here comes Michael P.S. Hayes, and he had that Rebel flag robe on. And I'm not endorsing it, but I'm just saying back in, I'm talking about 1987.
Yeah.
And he had that sequin robe on. He had his hair going. And, hell, the entrance alone was worth the $10, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And I ain't seen him work yet.
Yeah.
Right.
And they get a damn set of steam on him, Von Erich. So with respect to all the Rebel flag,
controversy
going on, again, I understand everybody's sensitivity towards that. I'm just talking about, no, just because that was part of their gimmick back in the day. It should not impede their progress as far as being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, one of the rules about our podcast is we don't talk about politics.
I don't either, brother.
No.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't.
No, I mean,
Because
I don't think about it.
divisive-
Yeah,
it's a very divisive thing.
if we can't talk about wrestling without having to worry about something that happened 20 years ago, there's
No,
something
but
wrong.
Conrad, but just as part of the imagery, I just
Yeah.
think you X-nay that from the video package and you're good to
Yeah,
go.
of course. Yeah, I do too. But I mean, most assuredly, I thought they would have gone on before.
But when you look at what they did in the ring, Michael Hayes was one of the, people don't give that guy credit enough for being a great talker and a hell of a damn great commentator, and his work was good. But Gordy was the worker out of that bunch. Gordy
Unreal.
was the big heater, bully, and of course Buddy Jack Roberts. Because everybody in the building just knew out of all three of them, at least I can kick his ass.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah.
And that's why I had so
Yeah.
much heat.
Yeah.
And of course you had PS stirring the pot,
Yeah.
talking all that trash, and then you have Gordy with those facials and everything,
Yeah.
and he'd say something. If he
300-pound Terry Gordy.
I mean, and
Yeah.
you've been to probably many tours of Japan with him.
Oh, my God,
that
yeah,
guy was
yeah,
gold.
yeah.
I wish he was still around.
Yeah, you know, the thing of it is, and Terry's like a lot of the guys that just, and we can sit here like Steve and I, because we've certainly had our time, right?
Right.
Yeah, either it's, this is what, something, a different subject, but along the lines of Terry Gordy and Kurt and all these other guys, right? You make your own choice. You can't blame it on the business.
No.
Either you fall for it or you don't. And Terry, who loved to drink, but he had the other gimmick, the other side too. And I mean, and speaking of Japan, I mean, he almost died twice over there before he actually did die.
Right.
It's just sad, but that's, everybody wants to throw it down on the WWE. That isn't the way it works.
As a
We
fan,
all did, we all put in the same time. We all bled. We all sweat. We all traveled. It's an individual choice,
Right.
And so I feel bad about it. But make no mistake about it, Terry Gordy was a big star here and in Japan.
Yeah.
He tagged up with Stan Hansen over there. They were,
Yeah.
and then Steve Williams later on.
Yep, and they were great together.
Yeah.
All the ladies love Slick Rick. You know they love Woo Nation. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
This is Woo Nation with Ric Flair.
So, as a fan, I always hear guys talk about Terry Gordy as being, this fantastic worker.
Phenomenal.
But I hear the guys say that. What is it, or what was it about Terry that was so special that you, as a wrestler, could appreciate that he did different from everybody else?
Well, I think I stole one of my famous high spots. Well, not one of my famous. A spot from Terry Gordy. It was just send a guy in, and both guys are hitting the ropes. As you're sending a guy in, you're chasing him. Duck two close lines, catch a cross body.
Yeah.
Gordy used to always do that spot. And then when I saw him with the two leg braces, I was like, God dang, man, that just looks tough. That guy's beat to shreds. Maybe he needs to get out of the business. I ended up with two leg braces. Just his movements, the way everything was big, and it was played to the 100th row and way back. Everything he did looked solid. It made sense. He wasn't working for the cheap pop. He was just a badass, solid cat, and he was believable. And I believe that he could beat anybody's ass in that building. That's what I thought about Bam Bam.
Yeah, here's my take on it, and I work with him a lot individually and a lot in tags. But he had incredible athletic ability for a guy that didn't play college
And a
sports.
guy that big.
Yeah, and a guy that big, but he was Barry Windham, but
Yeah.
30
Yeah.
pounds heavier.
Didn't hurt.
Not a great talker, not the most charismatic guy, but man, you put him in the role where Barry was. And like Barry, I mean, but eventually Barry's weight caught up with him. Christ, Barry weighs 350 now. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I did not.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, but Gordy and Barry, I mean, Barry Windham could do stuff that nobody sees.
But Gordy wasn't a crowbar either.
No,
Nothing he
did
did
with
hurt.
Barry. I mean,
Yeah.
geez, you couldn't, you wouldn't even know they were there.
Hey,
No,
man,
Gordy wouldn't hurt anybody.
Not to segue off, but I was watching Jim Cornette sent me a bunch of DVDs. Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Jim, from some old CWF stuff. And it was Blackjack Mulligan
Yeah.
30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember. He took off his vest.
Yeah.
You would have thought the rock and roll just hit the
Yeah,
ring.
yeah.
The girls went ape
I
shit
know,
for this
I know.
guy. And I'm like, this is Blackjack Mulligan. Back when he was a good-looking dude.
I know,
and he
man.
still
I was
pushing
wrestling him.
300. And I was like, I could not believe it. As a matter of fact, his opponent that night was John Studd.
Yeah.
The match was what it was.
That was in Charlotte. That was Charlotte territory.
But god dang, I couldn't believe Mulligan got the chick pop that he got.
Six,
It was awesome.
thick black hair, 6'9",
Yeah.
300 pounds.
Big, rugged
hey,
bastard.
Hey, and tougher than shit, too.
Oh, ain't no doubt about
Yeah, man.
that.
I
yeah.
watched him sucker punch Harley one time. I said, what's going on here, man?
Hold
Wow,
on,
we said,
okay.
let's break it up.
Why would Black Jack sucker punch Harley?
Why did he sucker punch Andre the Giant? I saw that, too. Jack had the shortest temper in the world.
Okay.
You had to have heard that.
Okay, but what happened with
Ask Slinker. You heard about Slinker, right?
yeah,
the karate guy.
But let me ask you about when he hit Harley. Harley's tough as nails. You've backed him up.
I
how many
have
times?
1,000 times. But
So what happened?
We're in a hotel room in Greensboro, and it's
Man, that's
me,
a great
Wahoo.
wrestling town.
Chad?
That's a great wrestling town.
No, the best.
Yeah.
We always stayed too. It's 90 miles from home, but we always found we got a big meeting tomorrow. Be home tomorrow. No, but
So what happened?
No, he knocked Harley between two beds, and Harley couldn't get out of it. You know what I'm saying? He knocked him between two beds. Just hauled off, just sucker punched him, boom, down one Harley between two beds, and Mulligan jumped on top of him. And Mulligan's 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Harley couldn't get away. He's pinned against between two big beds. So it's me, Wahoo, and somebody else trying to break it up. Finally get it broken up, and then, man, it's me, Mulligan, Wahoo, and Race riding back. And we had that, Jack and I bought that tricked out
Van, right?
Van, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We're always ahead of our time. Something more than we could afford. And had everything on TVs and all that. And I'm driving and took Harley Race, and I'm at Mulligan sitting next to me, and it's Wahoo, and I'm just waiting for Race to smack him. You know,
Right.
I mean, knowing Harley, but it never happened. I looked at Wahoo. I said, "Man, I don't want to go home with you guys. It's going to be bad news." But it never happened. And I'm gonna tell you, in all fairness, it's nothing against Harley. Jack Mulligan was tougher than hell.
Yeah.
He hauled off, and he looked at Murdoch one time. We were sitting there at Virginia Beach, on a deck of a bar. I can't think of the name of the bar. If I had a minute to think about it, I could. And he goes to Murdoch. Watch this. Bam. This is 1976. He nails Andre. Boy, Andre came out of that chair. He grabbed them both by the scruff of their shirt.
Yeah.
Dragged them out in the water, drowned them both. He almost killed them both. I swear to God. Straight up, man.
So
and I was watching it walking backwards.
Yeah.
Because I don't want him grabbing me. No, this is when Andre this is when he was,
when you go
still
over
pretty
and
young.
give the lifeguard the hot tag.
Yeah, right. Ooh. No, but Jack was just like that. I mean, do you remember the story about Slinker, the karate guy?
Yeah.
I know, it's kind of like the greatest story I've ever told about this, and you've heard me tell it, because I thought for sure Luger was going to get killed. So Jack becomes an agent. George Scott becomes the new booker in WCW or whatever it was at that point, Crockett. But it was down in Atlanta, so they hired Jack as a booker. I mean, as an agent. So Jack's wearing a suit, sweating like hell, smoking the Salem, right? We're in Marietta, Cobb County. You've been many times, Steve.
Yeah.
And Luger's wrestling Dutch Mantel. Mulligan smoking a cigarette. And Luger says to Mulligan, "Why would a Lex Luger wrestle," talking about himself in the third person, again to Mulligan, right? "Why would a Lex Luger wrestle a Dutch Mantel?" like he's nothing, right? And I looked at Mulligan, and Mulligan looked at me and went, he threw it out, he walked out the door. When I'm just thinking he's just going to haul off and murder Luger for even asking him. I said, "What happened?" He said, "I can't do this. I can't put up with these guys.
Just walked out and quit.
I'll kill somebody." He said he would. That's, that was the thing.
Right.
That's where Luger got so much heat with guys. Why would Lex Luger, okay? It's why would I? If that's the question.
Hello is because the booker wants you to
yeah, exactly. By the way, you got to work sometime on TV. It's a win.
Yeah, and you're not going to get a chance to work with Ric Flair every single night of your damn career.
Yeah.
I mean, you only did for 2 years straight.
Yeah, no, that was. I knew that he wasn't going to be.
Hey man, you mentioned a guy a while ago. God dang, Dick Murdoch.
Yeah.
Man, that dude could work his
Oh,
ass
my
off
God.
when he wanted to. What was his deal? Because, I mean, he had a great career, and I have nothing but respect for him. But, I mean, he could have done better than he did.
Well, here's the deal. Dick was he was almost too good. And that's when I started in the business, the three guys that were my favorite were Ray, who is still my all-time favorite, Murdoch, and Harley Race. Okay. My favorite.
When you say Ray, you talking Ray Stevens?
Ray Stevens.
Gotcha.
Harley Race,
Gotcha.
and Dick Murdoch. Because
Okay.
Dick Murdoch could really work. He and Dusty were a hell of a team. The
Mean,
Outlaws, man.
mean.
Yeah,
Damn
yeah.
right
He,
they were.
and Dick would, but Dick, he, along with Terry, right? I didn't see Terry till later on, but Murdoch had that ability to add a little humor to it. You know what I mean? It's like like in St. Louis. I remember one night in a town where you were one a downhill stretch, a figure four, a sleeper. I mean, it's the greatest wrestling town in the world, right? So one night he took a bump over the top rope, and I'm watching him. We're all standing back there at the keel, and he walked into the turnbuckle and walked into the post and took a bump and fell down. I went, and I said, "That's great." I mean, it made me laugh, right?
Yeah.
It was Dick Murdoch, right? He could do that, or
Yeah.
And then the Terry Funk came along with
Yeah.
the punches that were going nowhere, right? But all those guys got that from Murdoch. Murdoch was phenomenal. And Murdoch, like Nick Bockwinkel said to me, you need to learn this as a kid. I've always, I respect the guys whose work I respected. He said, there's only two guys in the business that can come off the top rope on your throat. Just so you know, one of them is Dick Murdoch, and the other one's Ray Stevens. And that came from Bockwinkel.
Right.
And he was throwing everybody into it at that point in time.
Right.
The only two that ever came off on top were Dick and nobody ever asked me to, you know what I mean? But, I mean, you let a guy, because Stevens, you couldn't even feel it, but Dick Murdoch was 270 pounds.
Right.
Never worked out. And you know how he died, Steve? You know the story?
No.
All those guys, they love rodeoing, right? And he had his place in Amarillo, he had a trailer, got divorced, we know how that goes.
Yeah.
We're living in a trailer, with a little property there in Amarillo, about 15 minutes from Terry's ranch. And he was rodeoing in the afternoon, going out and riding the bulls and all that stuff. All that. Came home, walked in his trailer, opened a Coors Light, boom, had a heart attack and died right there, instantly.
Wow.
Yeah. So that that's I hear about all these guys going. For me, it's either got to be a woman or something like that, or talking to you like last night, or right here doing this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do well being sick in the hospital. Dusty wouldn't have either. Piper wouldn't have. We're not made to sit there in a hospital for 6 months with some kind of a stuff. And I feel I'm really sympathetic to that. I saw something that I'll never ever forget, and it scared me to death when Magnum TA was in that car wreck.
Yeah.
I was in Birmingham and for wrestling Ron Fuller. I flew in, and it was a huge, huge deal in Charlotte. They had cop cars all around CMC, which is the Carolina Medical Center. He was so popular, and wrestling was so big then at '86.
Dude, I remember how he was on his way to being a megastar.
Yeah, and I walked in to see him, and this is the days where the life support was at Iron Lung.
Right.
The big tin
The big
pan,
tube,
right?
yeah.
It was like this. It was like this, right? And he couldn't move anything for 30 days, right? He was and the only way he could communicate was to touch this little tongue depressor, right?
Right.
To get him to come, And on the weekends,
Wow.
the weekend warrior deal,
Right.
My parents had healthcare issues on the weekend because you're getting the people that are just there to to make up a few bucks, and I was horrified. I said, God, I just couldn't do that. I don't think I could take it here. And that's I see Terry. I just saw him at Dusty's funeral, and I see him once in a while, and man, he's made it, but it's tough. He just dragged himself along.
But
Steve.
what do you think? Speculation. Had that car wreck never happened, had he never got,
He would have been a
wrecked,
world champion eventually.
He would have been he would have been one of the biggest stars of all time, I think.
Yeah,
Man,
he had the
loved
look.
him.
Yeah.
He had the fire, just that way that he moved forward.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't the most technical guy in the ring, and many haven't, nor am I. But man, he was.
Well, he had the look. He was incredibly handsome.
Good-looking dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Him
funny.
and Tully had some great matches and a great feud.
Yeah.
He had some great stuff with everybody, but man, it seemed like he was going to be that next big guy.
I'll tell you a funny story because people don't know this either. So Crockett, as they grew, they bought this bigger office over off Carmel Road. They moved over from the office. They kept the land and the building on South Boulevard and moved over to this big place, 30,000 square feet, put in rings and all that, right? So old Gene, this is when Gene was breaking guys in, right? So do you know the story about the mask guy coming in and all that?
No.
Okay, so did you ever know Gene Anderson?
No, I never got a chance to meet him.
Yeah, well, you would love it. Hey, so this guy walks in with his dad to the office, and this is the same day as Magnum comes, right, to get a tryout. So what Ole did, and Gene, they'd run these guys ragged up and down stadium steps. You've heard the stories, right?
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
And beat the crap out of them. Well, this guy comes walking into the office with his dad, and I was there getting him. You picked our paycheck, and this guy goes, "My son wants to try out for wrestling." And Gene says to him, "Well, take off the mask." And the kid goes, "No, I'm taking my mask off. I don't really know who I am."
Oh my God.
Okay, well.
We're the office. It's okay if we know who you are.
No, you don't get it. They went back to the ring, and he wouldn't take off the mask. Ooh, man, and they beat the crap out of that poor kid, man. I mean, just that's the way it was, right? So that afternoon, Terry Taylor comes in, and Buzz Sawyer's down there with him, right? And they beat up Magnum so bad he came walking out, and he saw me in the parking lot, and he said, "God, I'm a big fan of yours. What do you think I should do with Buzz Sawyer and Ole and Gene beat the shit out of him?" I said, "If you go home, you'll never make it. You got to come back tomorrow." And he did, but he paid the price, man. And he was a good amateur wrestler. He wrestled in college.
Yeah,
Terry did. You know what I mean?
That.
Yeah,
but I mean,
he wasn't a national champion.
But Rick, when you're in a situation like that, you're not really instructed to fight back.
No, I know that's
capacity.
the point. But Buzz
you're there
Sawyer
to
was
take an
tough
ass
too.
whooping. Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And
I didn't like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't like taking liberties with the guys. I didn't even like watching it because they were, they don't know they can fight back,
Right.
And like I'll give you an example. Eddie Graham was famous for that. He'd have Bob Roop and these guys kick the crap out of these guys, And one day he asked Briscoe to do it. Briscoe said, "I don't do that."
Right.
And Eddie and him had a falling out. Jack wouldn't do that kind of stuff.
Right.
But that was their deal. And then who broke them habit of that? A guy named Dick Slater walked in the office and wanted to become a wrestler. And they told Roop to soften him up. Roop was laying cold in a pool of blood. Slater was that tough, man. The rest is history. Dick Slater you would have loved him, man. 100 miles an hour down the road. He could work. He was just like Terry. And tougher than hell, boy. Remember that kid that played football for the Oakland Raiders, Matusak?
Yeah.
He beat up Matusak on the beach. He went up to his hotel room with spring break, and Slater was in high school. Matusak was at the University of Tampa with Orndorff at the same time, right? So he was hitting on Slater's girlfriend. Slater beat the crap out of him. You went up to his hotel room, and Slater said, "Write me a note and apologize to me before you come out." True story. Nobody messed around with Slater, man.
But I'd always heard about that from his Mid-South days down there in Watts territory with some of the things that he did. But
Yeah, he put one of our mutual friends' head in the toilet. I won't say who.
I know, but see, that's what I'd always heard, and I never got a really
Over Sweet
chance
Brown-
to get in the ring with Diggy Slater.
Yeah.
But he was a damn good wrestler, but he never reached like a big megastar status.
Well, he had that
but-
accident. He was in that car wreck with Terry and
What happened?
Blanchard. And all. They were driving in a van, and this is like 1986 or so, and terrible car wreck with Terry Funk. We talked about it, and he suffered a terrible concussion and a spinal injury.
Oh.
He was never the same again.
Oh, see, I never knew that, but
Yeah.
I'd always heard that Diggy Slater was one tough son of a bitch.
Oh boy, was he ever? Was he ever? I mean, he's back.
Because they put him. Who was he together
Bob.
with when they were the Hardliners?
Bob. Oh, that was Dick Murdoch.
Dick Murdoch, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But that was a good old school tag team. But
They didn't do
No,
anything
but
with
that was the infamous story where I was with Arn and I said, "Look out the curtain here because the Steiners ain't gonna stretch Dick Slater."
No.
And they hated working with, but they hated it. Those old guys. I don't want to work with them, but. There was no Frankensteiners. There was no belly to bellies. That was Dick Slater in the ring.
And you know what? I got to rewatch that match on YouTube because I remember that match, but I just don't remember the match in my head.
No, you and I'm sure you heard the conversation. Arn and I were standing there.
It was pay-per-view, wasn't it?
No, I don't think it might have been. I think it was just taping, but they hated working with older guys, and and they, in all fairness, but I mean, I've seen Slater. The best example of Dick Slater, it was Slater and Tenryu, the famous Japanese wrestler, against Brody and Hansen.
Wow.
That was the first time I saw how tough Dick Slater was because Brody and Hansen. This is in the Budokan, right, in Japan.
Right.
Sold out, and those guys. That's when they were on top of their game.
Yep.
Brother Slater didn't fucking take a deep breath, and excuse my language, he didn't take a step backwards. And Tenryu, they're trained to die before they do anything, but nobody sold nothing for 30 minutes. But they didn't. They weren't. And Slater wasn't afraid of them at all. As a matter of fact, I mean, in my estimation, they were thinking, let's take it easy on Slater.
Yeah,
Because he had that punch, man. I mean, he could knock anybody out. I've seen him do it.
Friends, family, and loved ones, I bet you haven't picked up that Father's Day gift yet, have you? Not to fear. The leaders in below the waist grooming are here. I'm talking about our friends at Manscaped. They're saving the day yet again with the total package for the father figure in your life this year. It's time to upgrade his game from waist to face with this exclusive offer. Have him join the 8 million men who already trust Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code NatureBoy at manscaped.com. Listen, let's be honest. You reckon Ric Flair knows a thing or two about manscaping? Of course he does. Well, let's start with the ultimate Father's Day MVP, the Performance Package 4.0. I have it on good authority. That's what Rick used to call his unit back in the 80s, the Performance Package. Inside this package, you'll find their signature Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. I wonder if any of his lady friends ever use those. Probably not. They got the brand new Weed Whacker. It's a 2.0. It's the ear and nose hair trimmer. And with a beak like Ric Flair, you need all the help you can get. How about the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant? I have it on good authority. Tony Schiavone was recommended this product by Ric Flair. Got him out of the Starbucks drive-thru. Got him on AEW. I wonder what it can do for you. How about the Crop Reviver Toner? At Rick's age, we need all the help we can get. Keep those boys out of the water. How about the Performance Boxer Briefs and the Shed Travel Bag to hold all the goodies? And who could forget about the Moneymaker? You see, Manscaped has absolutely changed the game with their Beard Hedger Pro Kit for fathers around the world. Included is the Beard Hedger trimmer, easy for me to say, the beard shampoo and conditioner, the beard oil, the beard balm, and 2 free gifts like the signature beard comb and scissors. We all know that dads like comfort. Well, man, grooming is already dialed in, right? So let's be sure to hook him up with some Manscaped Boxers 2.0. Without a doubt, the best boxers for men of all ages. Whether he's out mowing the lawn, taking out the trash, golfing in the sun, whatever it is, these moisture-wicking boxers breathe without breaking a sweat. That's what you want. You want your bag smelling good, and so does Dad. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you use the code NatureBoy at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Just be sure to use the code NatureBoy. Make this Father's Day one he won't regret with Manscaped. Hey, in serious business, what did you give your dad for last Father's Day? He probably doesn't remember. He'll never forget the year you gave him the gift of a smooth dick. Manscaped.com. The promo code NatureBoy. It's going to have your mama going, woo! Steve, did you work in Japan besides WWE shows?
No. Yeah, well, I mean, I went on 3 tours. One time it was a 3-week tour. That's when I tore my tricep, and then I went on 2 like a little single shots. So three trips over there all together. But that one trip was 3 weeks long, and I remember that was myself, Arn, and I'll leave some people out of this because
Ron Simmons was with you guys.
Ron Simmons,
yeah.
Ron damn near went off the deep end.
Yeah.
Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit. I think Eddie Guerrero was on that tour.
Yeah.
Haku.
Yeah.
And there was a couple other guys, but I remember, or was it Barb? Barb was on there.
Yeah.
And so, man, like me and Arn, we're used to being over in the United States. A lot of those guys, and Ron Simmons wasn't used to going over to Japan, but all those other guys that I mentioned were going back and forth to Japan all the time, so they were used to it. So like Arn and me are like,
Arn was miserable.
We're used to being on the road, but we're used to being on the road in the States.
Yeah.
So me and Arn were drinking like fiends, beer, and that's how we maintained our sanity.
Yeah.
And of course, the third night into the tour, I jump off the top turnbuckle. A Japanese guy moves. He was supposed to bent my arm up too far and tore my tricep off my elbow.
Oh, God.
Of course, I couldn't go home because you just got to work hurt, right?
Yeah.
So they put me in some tags, some 6-mans and stuff like that. I'll never forget. It was me, Arn Anderson, and Ron Simmons working against 3 Japanese guys I can't remember. And all of a sudden, it was me and Arn on the apron, and Ron was in there, and he was on fire.
Yeah.
Goes,
Yeah.
Bing, bang, boom.
Yeah.
And Arn looked at me and goes, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ron, he was good. Arn says, I'm glad I'm not a Japanese.
Yeah. No, hey, Ron was pretty tough, too,
And that's with due respect to all the people in Japan.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, dude, when Ron was on fire and slinging people around like a pinball, you couldn't stop him.
No, Ron was, I was going to say it about Kerry Von Erich earlier, but the 2 guys, you could always bench press 500 any day of the week were Kerry Von Erich which I've seen him do 100 times, and Ron Simmons.
Yeah.
No matter how much Crown Royal Ron drank, he could always bench press. He'd come in and warm up with 315 for 10.
Yeah, those are the kind of guys that just pissed you off.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'd be in the gym, working out like a son bitch. For a while, Tony Atlas trained with me. And
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
people don't know that. Tony Atlas would drink some beer. Now, he could not drink me, but we'd go to the gym the next day, and sure enough, there would be Tony.
Yeah.
315 on the bar to start off with.
Yeah.
He'd jump right to 405. Can't. I'm like, I'm over here struggling with 2 1/4. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But Tony was always just naturally a strong guy.
He was Mr.
Miss USA.
Well, Mr. USA, but he was Mr. Number one. He was a state champion in wrestling in the state of Virginia.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was a good amateur wrestler, and I mean,
Hey, did you know the story that one time Paul Orndorff, Mr. USA, Tony
beat
Atlas,
the crap out of Tony?
Well, I know, but there was another guy in the car, and they got into an argument, and they said, pull this car over, and I'll be damned if Tony Atlas and Paul Orndorff went at it, and Paul Orndorff bit off part of Tony Atlas's ear.
Yeah.
And then so they were working for Mid-South. So Tony missed a shot because his ear was messed up.
Matt Bourne.
And was it Matt Bourne?
Yeah.
Well, so anyway, but Bill Watts fined him because he couldn't work that night.
Paul Orndorff was a tough guy too. I mean,
The Brandon Bull. Everybody I used to travel with Paul.
Yeah,
We used to hunt with him. But
yeah.
everybody knew
And
Paul.
he had a short fuse too. But nobody really saw how short that fuse was. But we put up a lot until Leon gave him some crap that day, and he was wearing shower shoes like these. Boom! If he'd got cowboy boots on,
Dude,
Leon would still be laying there.
That story, Rick, happened when I had my tricep injury. So I was down in Douglasville, Georgia, 25 miles away from the television taping there, Center Stage.
Center Stage.
And here comes, Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
I love a guy. He got on the phone, called me first thing, kid, you're not going to believe it. He always calls me kid.
Yeah.
Kid, you're not going to believe this. Paul Orndorff almost killed Van Vader,
Yeah.
and he was wearing flip-flops.
Yeah.
If he'd have been wearing a pair of high-techs, he'd have killed him.
Yeah.
Because he put the boots
Well, you would have,
put
sure.
the flip-flops to him.
No, Paul's tough. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of people Atlas. I never saw that part of Tony where Tony would get into a verbal jealous with someone like that. I would more see a guy like Bud Sawyer wanted to fight all the time, and Matt Bourne, who thought he was tough until Arn beat the crap out of Arn beat the crap out of Matt Bourne.
Did you see the Vader Orndorff thing?
Yeah, I was right. Well, I was right next door. I didn't see it, but I saw Vader laying on the floor, and I heard everybody screaming, and I saw Paul walking out the door. He looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't take any more shit from the fat guy."
Kevin Sullivan says he did it with his bad arm. Is that? I mean,
Yeah, he did. He
the one that dropped him, Sullivan says, was
Oh,
with his
I don't know
bad
about
arm,
that, which arm it
to
was,
me
but-
is like, holy shit,
No,
that's
he's
another
tough.
level
Let
of
me tell
badass.
you, you probably saw Paul recently too. He just, has beaten for stage 4 cancer. I didn't recognize him, but no, in his day, Paul, it was a different business back then.
Right.
I mean, Orndorff was around back when it was him and Snuka against me and Valentine, when Mulligan and all those guys are running around. And we were all in the building one night, Norfolk again, sold out. Right, it's Jack and Barry's first match against Ole and Gene. Right, and it was me and Valentine against Snuka and Orndorff, and I had that 2-headed coin. I told you the story. Because I hated taking that splash from Jimmy. Jimmy was about 270, right?
Right.
So I flipped the coin with
And rock
Valentine.
hard.
Huh?
And rock hard.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd rather
it wasn't
take
like a
the
cushion landed on
the
you.
jumping pile driver, man. I felt that was taking that splash every night, and I was taking a jumping pile driver. And we weren't winning, it didn't matter, but I hated that splash. He was killing me. So we were watching the match, and we're all under the curtain. We knew there was going to be a problem with this. Because Jack already slapped Ole at TV one time. And so look at the curtain, and Barry got in the ring, and everything looked great. All of a sudden, Jack didn't like it. Jack just jumped through the ropes, went over, smacked Gene, slapped Ole, and grabbed Barry, and brought him down and walked to the dressing room and said, "You stay here." And he looked at Ole, he said, "You guys come in here." They walked down the hall. Mulligan was there. Gene and Ole went down the hall. They went for a walk. Yeah, it was. Everybody knows that story. Jack was Wingo, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but I say that in a good way. But he just wasn't. He was easy to get along with, just, and never drank a lot or anything, smoked and that. But boy, he had a bad temper, man.
So Steve Rick was saying, he really dreaded taking the splash from Superfly. Was there a move you didn't really look forward to?
No, I worked with him a lot. I didn't like it at 270. At 220, it was doable. But that splash, I don't care who it is. It's not going to be Eddie Guerrero, who weighed 190 pounds every night,
But I can't think of anybody's finish that really terrified me because I never had to take the Steiner finish to flip off.
Oh,
the top.
geez, I know.
I never had to take the thing from the Road Warriors. I mean, I really never had to take a bad finish from anybody that I hated doing. So I can't really recollect.
Yeah, I hated that thing too. You know, I was watching the other day.
But how were you about? Let me ask you a question, Rick. How were you about sending receipts back? Because I always worked snug, but guys always took care of me. But, you know, like I've told the story many times when we was over in Europe, and Boss Man clocked me about 7 times, and finally I lit his ass up. And that was really the only receipt I'd really ever sent back in a ring. In your illustrious career, and I guys had a lot of respect for you. But
I can tell you this. I never sent one back because I don't think I was tough enough. And if someone was potatoing me, they were pretty tough. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, Brody.
With a lot of those guys you just named, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, we all make some mistakes in that, but I mean, I don't remember anybody taking a liver with me ever.
But then again, you probably had the fact that you were Ric Flair going for.
How about Vader?
Vader's
I did have to go. I had to give Vader a receipt in that title match in '93.
Right.
Yeah, because what happened was, it was supposed to be Vader and Sid.
Right.
And then Sid and Arn had the dispute in Europe.
Yeah.
They both came home.
I was there.
They fired Sid. They fired Arn, and that's when I called Bischoff, and I said, "You fire Arn, I'm gone too."
Right.
So anyway, because it was in Charlotte, they put me in the match. He didn't want to do the favor,
Right.
and he didn't want to do it. So yeah, I did have it all with it. But
Hey, was that the long ass match y'all had on pay per view?
Yes,
That was a pretty good match.
the match came out great.
Yeah.
Harley was out there, but you know, he was pounding me, and Harley looked at me and said, "What?"
Yeah, I remember you telling me this.
Yeah, Harley said, "Jesus Christ, what are you doing?" I said,
He was on the floor
I'm just
telling you
to-
this.
I'm just trying to get along. He said, "Rick, beat this shit." So I started firing back. I watched it. I watched it the other day. I told Michael and said, "Hell, that match was better than I thought it was."
It was. It was a good match.
And but I started lighting him up. Remember the next day he had the black eyes and all
But
that.
the crowd was hot for you.
Yeah, he was
God,
beating
man.
the thing to the ears. He wouldn't hit me here. It's that thing to the ears, you know.
Well, it was those
Yeah.
elbows like that.
Yeah.
The
No,
corner.
Harley said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just trying to get along." He said, "You're really pissing me off." I go, "Okay, man." And so, the next day he had black eyes and everything. Yeah, but I think I'd already seen at that point. I think he'd already been dropped to the floor by Orndorff. So I figured he couldn't hurt me too bad.
At the very least, sneak in a flip flop.
Yeah. But I'll tell you something else about Leon. I took that thing off a top rope from him 100 times. It never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know the funniest thing I got to tell you. You'll have to remember this, Steve. Is when Kevin Sullivan.
Before you go, but I got to give props to Leon because I love the guy and he's one of the greatest big men in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
So I don't want to come off like we was running him.
No.
down,
I
'cause I love Leon.
No, I introduced Leon at the Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah.
Because I said thanks so much. I mean, because he was a big star in Japan. No, we're just talking about thinking it's nothing against Leon. This is history.
No. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, Leon. I just said Leon never ever hurt me one time. I mean.
We'll be right back with the limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling in, son of a gun, Nature Boy Ric Flair. Woo! On Woo Nation.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
The greatest talker in the history of the business is behind the mic once again. This is Woo Nation with Ric Flair.
Kevin Sullivan, you know, our friend, the rocket scientist, right? He said, handicap, you and Arn, Daytona Ocean Center. Do you remember that? Against Leon?
Yeah.
And you know, here's Kevin, you'll be like the Wolverine. You'll attack his legs. Arn will attack the upper body, right? Oh, we got there, right? And of course, Vader over, right? So, the only thing I'm looking, it's like over the years, the things that have made me laugh. Leon gave the thing to me, right? And then Arn had to feed in, and I was laughing so hard. Arn was so mad. But I said, I didn't book this thing. I was just on the committee. He's jumping up on top of Arn. You're like, Arn's standing like, dude, how did you get me involved in this shit again?
You booked that?
I didn't book it. Sullivan did it. But he goes to me and Arn. He told me and Arn, he goes, you guys would be like the Wolverine and the enforcer, right?
I love when guys spin these ideas, they make them sound.
Oh, yeah.
But you're the victim.
Yeah, now he beats both of us, right? Jesus. And then, I'm trying to think of where I was going with that because Oh God, Arn and I. We just been. Oh, the other time was when Arn and I against Kevin Green and Steve McMichael, right? Yeah. And so Steve McMichael could actually work, but Mongo could work, right? Kevin never got it. Kevin was like
linebacker mentality.
Oh my God! So we got the heat on.
Tough dude too.
Oh yeah, we got the heat on Mongo, right? we gave Kevin the tag, and Kevin's like walking around all day going, I want a suplex. I want a suplex. I go, okay. We didn't practice that. He said, I can do it. I can do it. So he gets the tag, and boom, 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 shoots me in, about kills me with a reverse elbow, right? Suplexes me, and that's where Arn feeds in. And I was over there going, thank God, making sure I'm alive, right? And when Arn came to the ropes, Kevin Green got the 3-point stance, and he hit Arn with a forearm shiver.
Wow.
It almost killed Arn. And he was looking at me like, I'm going to kill you. I said, I didn't do anything to do with this. Oh, because it was just, Arn and I were always the guys, here you go, take him, right? I mean,
But how fun was it to ride down the road with Arn
after
best. An extravaganza like that, and to hear him with a couple of beers and him recant the story because he's one of the funniest, most sarcastic guys and the quickest witted guys in the history of the business.
Unreal. The greatest line I tell everybody was they were on the Falcon one night, and he and Luger would joust all the time, and so and Luger would call Arn a Super Ball, you're bouncing around for you, right? And Luger looked at Luger one time and said, if I could have those chompers in my hand, General Patton could have another set of pearl hand revolvers. He goes, you're an orthodontist dream. He would just always, he was too much. Then he would imitate Luger, honk, honk. You remember boom, honk, boom, honk. You remember them doing that? The punch where he'd jump and then give himself a tug. I don't know what the deal was with that. But, he could drive. He drove Luger crazy.
Yeah.
But everybody, he was just dynamite, man. Yeah, he's a funny. Well, he just had Arn over his house.
Well, the fun thing would be in WCW back in the center stage TV tapings was, they had 2 dressing rooms. There'd be a monitor, and everybody in the back would be glued to the monitor. Back in, the monitors were like 10 by 10 inches big. A little bitty sumbitch. And so Arn, everybody's dead silence or ooh, ah, or whatever. And Arn was like the voice, the commentary, and just zinger after zinger after zinger.
He's up. Like, the more beer he had, the funnier it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's funny? He goes, we're sitting there, and he was in the booking committee, and I was trying to get out of wrestling Hogan again. And they're all going, yeah, it'd be great. And so Arn's analogy was, I wanted to kill him. He goes, it'll be like Florida State. You remember Florida? Yeah. Florida lost 30 during the season. They went to the national championship in the Sugar Bowl, and then Florida beat Florida State 31-30, right? Well, 31-30 is what Florida State beat by during the regular season. Went to the Sugar Bowl, and Florida beat back. He said, this time they'll fully expect, they'll never think you're going to win, and you will. I said, Arn, I'm never going to win here. I'm never beating Hogan. What are you talking about? But that was Arn's analogy. I wanted to kill him again. Florida State, me, Hogan. What are you talking about, man? So many good times.
So, Steve, were you in WCW by the time Rick went to WWF, or had you not made your way up yet?
Man, did I go to WWF before you, or did you go up there before me?
No, I'm in WCW. Like he left in '91.
He wasn't in the business. He was still in college in '91.
No. I broke in '89. I was 90 Rookie of the Year. I was still down in USWA till about 91 and a half or 2, and that's when I got a call from Dusty, and that's when I came in.
Okay, so he had already left.
Were you? I don't think you were there when I first got in.
He came back in January of '93.
I came back in 92. Okay. 93.
Yeah, because you were down to Orlando TV taping. So then I don't think you were there when I initially got there, but then you came back and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was. I just came back, and that's when the thing happened with Ole.
Dude, that's so damn long ago. It's really hard to remember some of those times.
Yeah, I've forgotten. That's that TV tape, and after it reminded me so much when I got to TNA, the little run that I had there. You're working in front of a crowd that's paid to be. It's just part of the general. It's a part of a ticket that includes the theme park, and it's it's like TNA. You're not even wrestling. You can't gauge. I'm wrestling Kurt Angle, right? And people are, and anybody can have a match with Kurt, right?
Sure.
And at TNA, but you know, you'd have to have a guy like him or Sting to have a match because the people were not conditioned to be there. They were just people in the theme park and said, "Hey, let's go watch wrestling." You know, it's all no allegiance to anybody. Didn't really get it, just making noise. And I said, I just looked one time at the Dixie Carter. I said, "You're never going to be able to get a grip on your product until you get in front of a live audience that they're paying admission to come see your ticket." I mean, then they started going on a
has an
little
invested interest in the talent that's performing in the ring in order to get behind or boo somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
it was
Jesus
just
Christ,
it was
paying
insane.
them if they don't know who nobody is, what really makes a shit?
Well, that's just it. And I felt that the first time I got there. They know who I was. They knew who Hogan was, obviously. They knew Kurt, you know, because of our exposure from WWE, you know.
Well, the worst thing is to watch two guys go out there and work their asses off, and nobody gives a shit because they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And so they're just going through the mechanics of having a match. And if the crowd's not going to be invested, every time you do something to elicit a response and go accordingly.
Yeah.
And if nobody ain't doing shit because they don't care, it's just it's hard. You feel sorry for the guys out there having to put in the work, and nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, when I got there, I mean, AJ Styles could work. He could work like Shawn Michaels.
I don't know why WWF don't hire Styles right now.
I don't know. He can work like he's never going to be able to sell like that. But mechanically, he's Shawn Michaels.
I mean, well, yeah, I would put him on a Shawn Michaels level, but man,
No. But
the stuff that he can do in the ring,
Yeah.
as talented as he is,
Yeah.
I believe the kid deserves a run in the WWF.
Yeah, no, I didn't say it was Shawn Michaels, but I meant
No,
I never seen him work like out there. The kid can do anything.
Yeah.
And he's got a good body on
I've
him.
never
He's
even
good
met
enough
him. I think
size.
he's badass.
Yeah, really nice kid. And
Do you think it's just because of the TNA stain, so to speak?
Well, he's not even there
why they-
anymore.
I think that's a part of it.
Yeah.
But I think, man, why
Yeah.
not go out there and cherry pick some of those guys?
Yeah.
Because some of them go. I mean, here's the thing: when you look at the WWE roster right now, there's still a very green talent base, and that's not saying this with disrespect to anybody in the locker room, but it's a very green locker room. Man, if you can bring in a couple of vets, I mean, that dude's been around the horn for a long time. And look at the recent guys that have had success there. You know, Sami Zayn, damn near a 15-year vet.
Yeah.
Finn Balor just now getting
Kevin
cranked
Owens.
up. 13, 14, 15 years. Kevin Owens, damn near 15
Seth
years.
Rollins,
but
10 years.
Okay, so
Seth
you're
told me
talking
today,
about
10
the
years.
guys who are getting
Yeah.
over or getting
Yeah.
good shots. It's the guys with 10-plus years experience.
Yeah.
They're
Exactly
new to
what
the
you said.
system, but they ain't new to the business. So, hey, AJ Styles, here you go. Welcome aboard.
Let me ask you, and he's heard me say this, okay, and because you are like me, okay, and like a lot of other guys, but I look at one of the problems I have today, which is old school thinking, right? But I used to tell my son this when Reed was looking at wrestling, and what is that everybody except for the Undertaker, and I'm missing a few guys, wrestled in trunks and boots. Okay, Flair, Anderson, Blanchard, Wyndham. I'm going back, before your time, right? Orton, Slater, Harley. Did he wear a robe? Yeah. Did you wear a vest? Yeah. You, The Rock, Hunter, Shawn Michaels, long tights. But I mean,
Right.
And so many guys. Well, it's getting better now, but it's these gimmicks, and it was like, when you came out, boom, the music. It was Steve, right? Now all the guys, and I get it, because times have changed, but nobody sold more merchandise than you. You didn't wear your 316 shirt to the ring.
No.
No, everybody wears their damn merchandise now. I mean, there's like nothing. There's no creation in an outfit that, like Sean had the chaps and all that stuff, right? And you had the vest, I had the robes. I mean, Hunter did all the stuff, but at the end of the day, it was tights and boots. And now, I mean, the guys are. It's just like everybody's wearing their t-shirt. What can you imagine if you wore your t-shirt? How many you would have sold? Hey, this is a true story. I've told you this. When I first came back in 2001, and you were just there, you would just.
I think I probably just came back.
Yeah, you came back, and we turned you bayface that night that I started in November of 2001. Then I wrestled, and you stayed for about another year and a half. Yeah. And then, but I'm in Anaheim at the Pond, and I'm new to everybody there, right? But I knew all the guys, but I didn't know anybody in the company. And the guy says, "Man, we killed it again tonight with Austin and Rock." And I go to the guy, you'll probably know this story, and I go to the guy, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, we sold 16,000 Austin T-shirts tonight and 15,000 Rock T-shirts." I said, "You're shitting me." He said, "No, We do. He said, Rick, we do it every night. I said, see, you sold 16 or whatever the capacity was.
Right.
I mean, I said, now I know that all that shit I hear about Steve making that money is true. Jeez. You and Rock were killing it, man, huh?
Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful, so I use the Game Time app. It's the fast and easy way to buy tickets to everything you might want. Yes, wrestling, but sports, music, comedy, man, even theater near you. They've got killer deals on last-minute tickets, and their best price guarantee, man, you just can't beat that. So stop stressing over the tickets. Start getting hyped for all the fun you're going to have. What I like best about the Game Time app experience, at least from my perspective, is it's easy to find and buy tickets. But here's my favorite part of that. I don't have to guess what my seat view is going to look like. They show you images of what your seat view is going to be like. That means no surprises. But you know me, I'm always paying attention to the money. They offer a lowest price guarantee. They even have event cancellation protection, even job loss protection. Talk about peace of mind. Let me explain. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has the tickets that you need even up until the day of the event. You can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, everything. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. Now, check this out. This is a guarantee you won't see everywhere. If you find the tickets in the same section and the same row for less money, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That's peace of mind. My favorite piece, though, again, I want to say again, you get images of your seats before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect before you arrive. And by the way, you can buy these tickets in a matter of seconds. Seriously, 2 taps and you're all set. The tickets will be sent straight to your phone. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code FLAIR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code FLAIR for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
It was.
I mean, I'm not asking you for a number, but I mean,
but
this guy was volunteering this to me. He said, Rick, because, Steve and I really got to know each other and we talk and, and he had the greatest gimmick. I mean, Steve would go out there. We were in Buffalo one time and the show was an afternoon show and we got done like 7 o'clock and he was out there. And Aaron goes, let's get out. And I'm sitting there watching Steve because I was on earlier and Aaron was the agent, right? I'm watching Steve out there. He sat out there for an hour and drank beer with the fans. I said, what are you doing? He's like, where am I going to go? Back to the hotel? He just sat out in the ring. And they kept 1,000 fans for an hour after the show.
Wow.
People are saying, get the fuck out of here. You did that every night, though,
I did that for a couple of times.
You remember Buffalo that time?
I can't remember that time, but one time we was in the Garden. It was someplace like that, and those guys are all union. And so we kept staying, drinking beer, and no one ever told me to go home. So next week, go to Monday Night Raw, and he goes, Vince says, can I talk with you? I said, yeah. He goes, I just want to let you know that you cost me $14,000 in overtime wages for staying out there so long. And so I'm kind of like, well, I'm on the spot. I said, what are you going to say? I said this. I said, all right, I'll split it with you. He goes, no, you ain't got to split it with me. I'll catch it, but next time don't do it so long.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So anyway, next night, go out there. So same thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Kevin Dunn gets on the house mic. Steve, time to go home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, geez.
So we avoided the fines from then on out. But I was just out there having a good time.
Yeah, well, we were just in the Garden recently, and as a matter of fact, it's sad to think about now. I was there for the Hulk Hogan night, right? And
last year.
Yeah, and they grossed like $1 million gate, right? And they broke even.
Hell of a gate.
That's how much.
Even on $1 million gate.
Something like that. They said we're just because it costs so much.
Ridiculous now.
The rent now is ridiculous. You haven't heard that?
No.
Steve? Yeah, I mean, I may be off by a couple $100,000, but they were saying you guys sold out. But they don't run it nearly as much if you think about it.
Meltzer says it's hundreds of thousands of dollars for one night. Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, you notice they used to run it once every 2 months. They run it twice a year or 3 times a year now, right?
I used to love that building.
Yeah.
My second favorite building to work in. My favorite was the Rosemont Horizon because there's a wood ceiling in it.
Yeah.
The acoustics were crazy there. What was your favorite building to work in? Greensboro? I'm just guessing.
Greensboro was before WCW messed. Greensboro killed it. They killed Greensboro. They killed Charlotte.
But just
My
as far,
favorite-
just as far as like Chicago was a stronghold for me to
Yeah.
get them. Now I love working in the Garden because how special it was, and I like the Houston Summit. So I like various buildings for different reasons.
Yeah.
But I always say Rosemount Horizon in Chicago is my favorite. So what
Yeah.
would you say would be your favorite?
Mine would be either that or St. Louis.
Yeah, St.
Yeah,
Louis,
see, I was
yes,
never a big card in the Garden. People say to me, you must. I never drew any big money in the Garden. I really didn't. I mean, I wrestled Hulk, and I think we sold out. But when I wrestled Roddy, we didn't sell out.
Right.
I mean, because people didn't know me when I first came up there in '90.
But the thing about the Garden was a hard crowd.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Chicago was. I mean, they're so rabid there.
Yeah.
I mean, from sports in general, from their baseball, football, and their baseball teams, they're just rabid. And so when wrestling came in there, and that's when I finally started getting the feeling, hey man, the tide's really changing. This crowd is really endorsing what I'm doing, and Chicago is part of the big reason I started getting a little heads up. Hey, I'm getting over here. These
Yeah.
people are going crazy.
Yeah. Wait, what was your take? While this was going on, I know we can't talk to you all day long, but I really appreciate it. What was your take, knowing that you were the most influential part of keeping the doors open up here while you were looking at our product? I know we had your show on in Gorilla and our show, right? I'm sure
Right.
Vince did too. If I remember correctly, you probably had our show on to see what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your take? I mean, were you thinking, screw? I mean, I sat there and I was down there and I was mad because they would actually go out on the air and say, we're going to close you down.
Right.
And these are guys that made a fortune working for Vince.
Right.
And Bischoff leading the deal, right? I mean, everything comes around in full circle, but it's just like Vince is this guy. He's got this ability to forgive and forget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or think about someone said he's always looking at money, dollar signs, and all that. But I mean, what were you guys thinking? What the hell? I mean,
During the Monday Night Wars?
yeah.
Man, I was just thinking, like, I just remember we do like a real good show, and this is after a while, and we were getting our ass handed to us for 2 years in a row, and I was thinking, man, what's it going to take to beat these guys? And so I never really, y'all had a hot open. I love to open that show, the Flames and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of dug y'all's open, but then I dug ours too. But then all of a sudden, man, y'all just had a bunch of good shit going on. And so I was so immersed in the angles and doing everything that we did, I couldn't dwell on y'all.
No,
didn't
but I
think
mean,
about it.
nobody was forcing you to pay attention to that then? No. Okay, yeah.
Man, I was just
Yeah.
doing my thing. We
Yeah.
were running up down the road, and it was crazy. And
Yeah.
I remember we did the Pillman gun angle, and at that time, man, we were both territories were crossing in the same
Mm-hmm.
airport there in Cincinnati, and I was going to another place, and they were coming in, and Shivani and all those guys kayfabe.
Why was that with you?
Yeah, with
Oh,
the boys,
yeah.
and everybody said hello. But
I was at the memorial with you.
do what?
Yeah, I was at the memorial with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a weird time. But it was so competitive, man. I didn't pay attention to really what was going on. I just knew that we were really starting to make a movement. And we were starting to gain traction. The business was really picking up.
Yeah.
And both companies were doing such stupid numbers that the biggest winners out of everybody was the pro wrestling fans.
Of
'cause
course.
they go back and forth like a
Absolutely.
kid in a candy
Yeah.
store, man.
Yeah.
Take
great.
one, watch another.
Well, that's funny because Kevin Sullivan, who I've always regarded as a real smart guy, he made a phenomenal statement the other day to he and I on the podcast. The network, right? The thing that is cool about the network, but it's always going to hurt the product today, is they can go back and look at Steve Austin
Yeah.
punching out Mike Tyson. They can go back and look at Steve Austin wrestling Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart in what are those matches? I was talking with Bret about it. The famous match you guys had.
WrestleMania 13.
No, the hour long. I
Oh,
quit.
the Shawn was the Iron Man.
The Iron Man, but you wrestled Shawn Iron Man and Bret, right? Both.
No, Brett and Sean had the Iron Man. I never wrestled an hour my entire career.
Oh, okay. I thought
He wrestled Brett the next year at the Rosemont in Chicago at WrestleMania 13.
Yeah. You're
Oh,
correct.
but it wasn't an hour long match.
Oh, hell no, man.
Oh, I didn't know.
An hour, I
Okay.
stunk a joint out.
Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't know, but I
Have you
mean,
seen
yeah.
that match?
No, but I mean, I don't think I've ever seen it. No, but I'm saying to people, and Sullivan said that what's killing it, it's going to be not the downfall, but if you got the network right, it's very sophisticated. I can't work it. I have to have him show me. But
Right.
if you can go back and look at, like, I pulled it back. I saw Seth today. I told that Rollins will be the next Randy Orton. He's that good.
Right.
But the problem is, it takes, as you know, years to get that brand. But it's not because they're not trying. But they got like Ziggler's a hell of a worker too. But it's like Arn says, everybody bats 500 around here. You know, well, you didn't bat 500. Either did The Rock. You know, I always batted about 120. But I won 16 times.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
When you needed to.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you always got the heat back.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing about Dusty, man. We lost in the arena every night, but we got a ton of heat on Dusty every TV.
Steve, something I didn't know, I found out the other day that Arn has kind of been John Cena's agent his entire time in WWE. Has that always been the case? And if so, who was your agent during your
Jack
run?
Lanza, I got the answer.
Black Jack Lanza had a lot of my matches, many of my matches. And then, Pat Patterson was paramount in The Rock's career, especially with regards to finishes. And a big impact on Rock's career. Of course, don't get me wrong, Rock was phenomenal in his own right. And then, but yeah, Black Jack Lanza was really helpful for me. Jared Briscoe would chip in and help me. George Animal Steel, but Black Jack Lanza always had my matches.
Yeah. No, I was there when we were in Kansas City. I loved it.
Yeah.
Because Lanza, you knew I was a big fan. I always got the inside scoop of what was going on, the scope of the action. As a matter of fact, I got to referee one of Steve's matches.
Didn't you hate referee? I hated referee.
I hated it, but
because I mean, I've been in the ring. You've been in the ring twice as long as I have. But and as much as you've wrestled and you kind of know what a referee does, all of a sudden you're wearing a striped shirt.
Forget it.
You don't really know what. I mean, you get the
Forget it.
basics,
Yeah.
but staying out of the way and just the mannerisms.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ball game, mister.
It is. And I refereed his match with somebody, and when I came back through, Vince said, "It's your last referee job. You're the worst referee." I said, I never said I was a good referee. Because did you wrestle to 100 that night or something like that? I can't remember. But I was the referee with the Kemper Arena in Kansas City, and oh, Jesus. But I couldn't win with him, 80s heels don't draw.
Dude, I'm telling you, I used to love watching matches just to watch Tommy Young referee.
Oh, yeah, he was great.
I love Earl Hebner as a referee. There's been a bunch of guys I like, but man, Tommy Young was a sumbitch. He'd go flying around there. His manners were perfect. I mean, y'all had good chemistry anytime y'all were doing something with another guy.
Yeah, the push, man.
It
made a lot of matches look good.
See, like these days, I mean, they don't even put over the referees anymore because, when Earl was over, Baby Earl was over. Tim White was over. But now they're just generic and they don't hardly mention them.
No, I know.
They're almost ineffective.
Yeah,
I know.
And it's too bad because the referee is a big part of the match.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not going to say they're going to sit there and draw you money, but when Tommy Young's refereeing a match, I know it's a big deal.
Yeah. No, it was, and then when I was there the night when he got his neck broken, refereeing the match. It was an accident with Tommy Rich. It was very unfortunate, but it ended Tommy's career. That neck surgery wasn't as sophisticated back then as it is now. He might still be able, but I mean, these neck injuries. I mean, Steve, we're talking to you. So, how much are they going to have to pay to take 10 Germans in Dallas before we let you go? Because you have to before we let you go. I got to ask you. We're not three things. You know what? Last time to me, you said word association. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start right here. How much are they going to have to pay to wrestle Lesnar at WrestleMania?
I see a whole lot of things in my future. In my near future, it's going to be some Mexican food downstairs.
Okay.
In my projected future, I don't see myself at 32 taking Germans from anybody.
Okay.
Much less the beast incarnate Brock
Okay,
Lesnar.
all right.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. Okay. Who's winning? We can't do that because it's be after the fact. Okay. I was going to ask you what your outcomes of this week coming up.
Oh, okay. As we speak right now, I'm talking to Ric Flair on Thursday afternoon. SummerSlam will have already happened by the time you listen to this podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
So my prediction is that Undertaker, and this is me predicting the future, my prediction is that Undertaker goes over.
How about, that's a lot of people's prediction. How about, and the only reason I question it is because the ESPN exposure that Brock has brought to the product. They're actually having like game day with Coach. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know
that. At Barclays Center. They're having game day.
Right. I think it's great.
Coach hosting it, and he's been on ESPN.
Yeah.
And his interviews bring it's because of UFC, obviously,
Right.
but they bring a lot of national attention. I think Taker has to win, too. How about Cena Rollins?
Okay, so, but you just said Taker has to go over too.
I think so.
Because
yes.
I thought the word on the street was they go back for the big match at 32. It's going to be the rubber match, and that one Brock goes over because Taker rides off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Brock moves to the future to continue drawing houses. That's the way I see that. So then you said Seth Rollins versus Cena. I didn't know that match had been made.
It's championship. It's U.S. championship against world
double
championship.
championship.
Yes.
Oh, man. Boy, you talk about a tough one. Man, I'd love to say Rollins goes over. I haven't followed the storylines, but I'm gonna say Cena goes over.
Okay.
I think Cena has to win this one just because he did some good business with Kevin Owens, dropped one to him, beat him twice, but really got Kevin Owens elevated.
Yep.
But I think at this time, with Rollins has a good head of steam because of his workmanship, I think Cena's got to go over on this one, and then you build something to WrestleMania, or unless he drops this one and then they take this to WrestleMania and then he wins there.
Yeah.
So there's two ways to look at it because there's not a whole lot of guys for this guy to work with.
What's
your prediction?
My thinking is that Seth Rollins is the only guy with any steam on him right now.
Okay.
Legitimate as a heel, right?
Yeah.
And if you beat him now, and Cena has 2 titles.
Okay.
What does it mean? What does John do with 2 titles?
Well, you are right about that, but what if you run somebody down, cause the screw job finish, take it into the three-way?
You give me your idea.
Go ahead.
Well, my pitch was, Sheamus comes in, cashes in, Hunter sends him.
So he's Money in the Bank?
He cashed in his Money in the Bank and just lays down and lets Seth beat him.
Right.
So then the next day he's on the Authority, and then Seth awards him the U.S. title as a thank you. And they've kind of replaced Kane with Sheamus, because Sheamus doesn't really do anything right now. So you let him do that, and now he's over as a heel, and he's back in the Authority.
Okay, so that's interesting. But again, I haven't seen the product lately, so I'm just trying to
get.
But your point is, what do you do with Cena with two titles on him?
Exactly, yeah.
And I love.
And he can't
John
tie
Cena.
me.
No, I know, but
He
I
can't
love
tie
John
me,
Cena,
Steve. Are you kidding?
Here's the thing. I love John Cena, but if you put 2 belts on that kid,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to intensify the heat that he's got on him.
Yeah.
Already.
No, I mean, I love him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to go down as one of the best of all
We
time.
love Cena.
Look
Cena
at
sucks.
the run that he's having.
Yeah.
But
13 years.
I'm looking at the IWC, and it's going to bring him some hard times.
Yeah. I see
But
that
and
too.
there's not a harder worker in the damn business right now. They're about to do his 500 Make-A-Wish, and that cat's always got a smile on his face. He's just got his nose brutally busted. He comes back from every single injury early. He's not the greatest worker in the world.
He's a
but
flagship,
he's
though.
Damn good worker. And every one of his matches, you watch the way he lights up that crowd.
Yeah.
There's electricity in every arena he goes to. Every time he gets in the ring, especially when it's a high-profile match. So, and again, he's not the greatest worker in the world, but can he go? Yes.
Yeah.
People. He's very polarizing. People either love to love him or they love to hate him, but they all respect him.
Yeah.
Let me ask
But-
you
He's a
guys
special
question
guy.
about him. Has there been a guy in history where he's getting booed like that at the beginning of the match consistently, but then at the end he gets a standing ovation? 'Cause
I ain't never seen nothing like it in my career.
I never have in my life either. No,
I
it's
give that guy a
strange.
ton of credit because you talk about a head trip. He's walking on the edge of a razor blade. I mean, because anything could happen anytime he goes out there. He rides that lightning bolt straight down the middle. Ain't never seen nothing like it in my life.
Yeah, and even like I text Stephanie about 3 months ago or 4 months ago. She seen Stephanie in the ring, right? And she goes, "What does it feel like to know that everybody in this building hates you?
Yeah.
You loser." Stephanie can be a real eagle, man. But and I text her, you need someone with a little more bass in your voice to joust with, because John's got to be politically right. But I mean, they basically talk about the fact that he gets booed.
Yeah.
He wins the world title. He walks out in Boston, his home state, and they booed him out of the building. It's just strange.
But let me tell you something. You take that man off the roster. You send that card out on the road.
Yeah.
Watch how many people come to the building.
Yeah.
I'd say 30-40% less.
No, I agree with you. I'm a huge John
man.
Cena fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the flagship, and like you said, he does everything. But I don't know. I can't see. I don't see him taking the steam off Seth Rollins.
That's a very good point. And again, you've seen the product more than I have.
Well, I'm just seeing. I'll tell you right now, which everybody knows, it's the hardest ticket to get.
Oh yeah, it's sold out.
I mean, I got what's his name? Who's manager? Justin Timberlake's manager calling me for tickets. I called John Porco. They're gone.
Yeah.
They're not available. And how often does that happen? I mean, they can always get somebody in, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No.
So Steve, as a fan, what do you think of the possibility? It seems like it's going to happen of Cena tying or perhaps beating Ric's world title reign, 16.
Man, I think that's interesting because I won 3 Royal Rumbles and no one's surpassed that yet, and that's only 3 Royal Rumbles. For some reason, Vince has all this logged down in these books, and he's very meticulous about how he protects certain things. So it will be very interesting. Where's Cena at right now? Is one behind
He's
or
at
dead
15.
even?
He's 15 right now.
You're 16?
Yes, sir.
So then I could see him tying Rick. It'd be hard for me to see him beating Rick. But then again, that being said, because how many of your championships were NWA?
8.
Okay, because of that fact, he'll make up something that if he gets to 17, his were all WWE, and Rick's place is still special. For me, as a fan, I get what time it is. And I want to say this in the right way. Rick was the 16-time world champion in a war where there was just depths and depths of people on the roster.
Right.
And this was just said on my podcast the other day. I was talking to Sean Waltman, X-Pac. I said, who's the greatest world champion of all time? Without hesitation, he goes, it'd have to be Flair because he's the last guy that did it worldwide. And I said, yes, you damn right he did. So with all due respect to John Cena, if he was to get to 17 and they eclipse your number of 16, does it mean the same? In a guy's book like mine, Stone Cold Steve Austin, my thoughts, it's not even the same ballpark. And that's with due respect to John Cena, who I love, but you're the man, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah, could you footnote that by saying, and Stone Cold said so?
Yeah, and Stone Cold said so. but that's the way I feel about it. So Conrad, say Cena one day goes, because theoretically the kid's got 3 to 5 years left in the gas tank. No telling.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
At any time you go to the ring, it could be your last.
Yeah.
But say he got to 17, what would that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it, but one of the things I don't understand is how the WWE doesn't acknowledge all of them. You know, when Rick put in Fujinami this year, they showed Fujinami winning the big gold NWA belt, but they don't even acknowledge that. The WWE doesn't. So
that I beat him.
Technically, it's 21.
Yeah.
Right. I just think it's going to be funny now that Rick's been branded all these years at 16. They'll move it to 21 if Cena gets 17.
Okay, well,
but in your eyes, as a wrestling fan,
it doesn't mean as much now.
Who really defines the world champion, the role of world champion better, John Cena or Ric Flair?
Oh, Ric Flair.
Okay, and again, this is all due respect to John Cena.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
well, you're my friend too, and let's go on to something else.
Nobody
First of all,
disagree
let me close out because I got to get something. We've kept you too long. Okay, first of all, I want to say I don't care. You know, I don't think about it. I don't have any bells hanging in my house. I'm lucky I had more fun than anybody alive. That I know for sure. Yeah. I've been drunk with you. I was with you last night. I mean, I went to bed going, when you sent that tweet out, I'm going, all right. Because you can't get these kids. Yeah,
but notice I said we only had a few beers.
Yeah, I know, yeah. No, but I'm saying because getting these guys, man, trying to come out, holy cow. I told Seamus today, I said, well, Austin really made you look bad last night, man. Even Steve comes out once in a while. And so anyway, we had a good time laughing. But the way I would like to go off this, because the things that I used to love, and I mean, I'm a mark for Steve, right? Give me a 30-second or a minute of 1 tequila, 2 beers, like you're talking to the crowd, like you used to do.
I can't do that.
Give me 30 seconds of it.
Tonight at the bar I will.
Yeah. No, do it on the podcast. Give me one. Yeah. 1 cold Corona, 2 shots of a tequila.
Can't do it.
1, please.
I'm not in character.
So you have to have a couple to do that?
I haven't eaten since 7 a.m. I'm starving.
Oh, well, I'm going to feed you right now. I'm buying lunch. But if we have a couple tonight, can we come back and reopen the podcast and do it?
I'll bring my recorder down. But you got to tell them to turn that godforsaken music down so we can actually have a conversation. I'll pay the.
I already know. I heard you say you're back here at 10:15. You're working 2 hours.
Yeah, Uncle.
Hard time.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we finish this up, Sting is back with WWE. Obviously, you have a big relationship with Sting over the years. We've done a little fantasy booking. What would you do with Sting, Steve?
Well, I can't believe that they beat him. Was it Mania last year?
Yeah.
Man, I brought him in here and they beat him. Clean in the middle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, they ran into NWO.
Yeah, the big smile speech.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, I didn't like that myself.
I thought, man, you bring Sting in and you beat him, man, I'll do something where it looks like you're going to do the screw job, but then something happens, so then he goes over on Triple H, who we all love.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, but if you're going to bring Sting in, put him over. And so then maybe is he in SummerSlam?
No,
Well, they haven't announced anything.
No, he did the game tonight and going home. I got your travel. You leave at 8:00 in the morning.
Okay, so dude, as far as what do you do with Sting, I don't know. I think he's got another high-profile match with him. You let him keep going like crazy in the gym. Send the ring down to wherever he's living. Keep knocking all that ring rust off.
He's in Dallas now.
Do what?
He's in Dallas now.
I know.
Yeah.
So just send him a ring, and I'd like to see him at WrestleMania. Now, do I know who you'd put him with? No, I don't have any idea. But would I like to see Sting have another match with the WWF? Yes, I would.
Yeah. I'll tell you who'd be a great opponent for Sting.
Who?
And this is who I wish he would have wrestled this year and won. Kane. Okay. But now that I've seen this other kid, Kevin Owens.
Right.
Kevin Owens, who is a legitimate heel,
right,
would be a great opponent for Steve in Dallas.
Right.
Because Owens has got enough steam on him now. He actually is a heel.
Do you think they'll put Sting in the Hall of Fame this year since in Dallas?
I don't know if they're going to put Sting in the Hall of Fame this year. It's funny, I talked to Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and he doesn't feel like Sting is Hall of Fame worthy because he was never the guy. He says technically he never drew. And I think I'm stating this correctly. Dave can please give me a call if I'm not. But for his longevity, for the type of run that he had, I feel, in my opinion, as Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's definitely Hall of Fame worthy. And whether they put him in Dallas or whenever, he should be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree totally too.
Yeah,
he worked hard.
The dude meant so much to the business of wrestling. I remember driving down to WCW before they hired me, and Matt Bourne made that road trip with me. He was working down the USWA too, and Sting was over like crazy. He had the lime green trunks. Remember, like it was yesterday. Had painted up, had the hair spiked, and he had that place lit on fire. So just due to the length of time he's had in the business, the type of run, the impact he's had on people. Yeah, was he ever like the number one guy in the history of the business? No, but man, he was badass and solid and a top guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Austin, thank you. We're honored to have had you today. And we got to get Steve some Mexican food. He's got to go to a 2K party tonight, which I'm not invited to as a result of my behavior with Steve 2 years ago. Steve's invited. I'm not. It's okay. I'll wait for Steve to come back. And Steve's going to give me a little toast tonight. We're bringing his equipment downstairs. But thank you so much, Steve. And continued success. Love your career. I told you last night that movie you made with the car. And I think you're on top of your game. Everything you touch seems to be turning to gold. It should. You deserve it. And in my estimation, as I said at my Hall of Fame induction, you are the biggest star in the history of the business. And I don't see anybody coming along right now. John Cena, Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage. You're the biggest star in the history of the business. And I'm talking about a Rock too, because you did it longer and you stayed with it and wrote it out and you brought something that no one had ever seen, and that was controversial TV. Like you can't do the things that you did back then, but it worked. It kept WWE afloat. So God bless you and thank you.
Hey, man, good being on your show. I appreciate that. I got lucky for most of it, but I had a good time doing it, and I always appreciate the fan base that sticks with me, and I'm lucky to be on the cover of the 2K16 video game, and thanks for having me on your podcast. I wanted to be able to return the favor because you was on my show a couple times, so it's great to talk with you. And of course,
I was, and then
you're my favorite pro wrestler in the history of the business.
Well, thank you. And then I had to go away.
I know.
We won't say where.
We'll go away tonight. We'll meet down at the bar.
Yeah, I went fishing for a month.
Without any beer.
Thanks, man. God bless you. Conrad, how about this one?
The best podcast yet.
Oh, you know what's going to happen now? We're going to come out. We're going to be ranked higher than Steve Austin. How about that? Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Woo!
Fite Plus is the ultimate digital platform for live sports and entertainment, and they're now offering a free 7-day trial at tryfite.com. Fite Plus is packed with a premium live event schedule, over 1,000 hours of live action every year, and a library of more than 4,000 hours on demand, plus exclusive content you can't get anywhere else. Fite is a great partner of ours. They support us, so let's support them. Give that free 7-day trial a shot, and you'll be a member for life. That's tryfite.com. TRYFITE.com.
Woo! Woo! Wings, now open for delivery from Uber Eats and Postmates. in these fine cities. Delicious anytime, and the perfect meal tonight while you're watching wrestling. Woo! Wings! Legendary flavors, World Championship wings. Woo! For a full list of locations, visit RicFlairWings.com. Joining right in action, Ric Flair Woo Wings. Amazing. Somebody rip me some more. More Woo Wings. Woo!
Hey guys, need to call a quick time out here. Wanted to tell your listeners what I've been telling my listeners over at OU didn't know for a while now about all the cool things happening over at adsfreeshows.com.
An all-new mailbag series debuts later this month on Ad Free Shows as we pick the brain of a man who has spent 40-plus years in the wrestling business. Longtime WCW and WWE referee Nick Patrick answers your questions.
And Kurt Angle, where you get here on it? Or me on the other? It ended up being my own blood. Austin had the title. It had those jagged edges on it, right? And they had a deal where Angle pulled me in, and I took the belt shot.
A little bonus content comes your way, courtesy of The Kurt Angle Show. A dream match became a reality back in 2016 as Kurt Angle squared off against Cody Rhodes on the Independents. For the first time, Kurt watches back his match against the American Nightmare.
This kid's really talented.
He's selling the ankle here on the leapfrog, went down on it awkwardly. He's outside the ring talking to the referee. This is, like you said, all part of the match plan. Hey, start to show that weakness in the ankle.
Yeah. This was his idea to make it look like he hurt his ankle so that when he did lose, he had something to gripe about.
Ad-free show members have chatted one-on-one with AEW stars like Eddie Kingston, Dax Harwood, Ricky Starks, and many more, including a recent live interactive session with Renee Paquette.
He still continues to do that. He's on commentary in AEW. I think it was cool for him to kind of put on that analyst hat and get to kind of test out those waters a little bit. But end of the day, it was a thing that I think made him feel like, you know what? Wrestling can be okay again. I can have fun in the wrestling space again, and now we have CM Punk Wrestling, so you're welcome.
That's just a small taste of what we got waiting for you. With 4 levels to choose from, see for yourself why Ads-Free Shows is the best value in wrestling today. Sign up now at adsfreeshows.com.